In Brighton, New York, on February 19th, 1982, James Krauseneck Jr. called the police and told them he'd returned home from work just before 5 p.m. to find his wife, Cathleen Krauseneck, murdered with an axe buried deeply in her head. The couple's 3.5-year-old daughter was found in her room, safe and unharmed. It is unknown if the girl witnessed anything or not. Police also discovered that a window and a door had been broken from outside, likely by a maul from the couple's unlocked garage, and silverware, a silver tea set, and a tray were on the floor in the dining room near a plastic bag. The victim's purse was nearby, with the contents spilled out onto the carpet. Other valuable items were not taken, such as money and jewelry claimed to have been in plain sight. A sock was found as well. The police speculated could have been used to hold the maul. The axe used as the murder weapon was also taken from the garage and belonged to the couple. The handle was wiped clean, leaving no prints. Investigators spoke to Mr. Krauseneck that evening and arranged for another interview the following day, but he took his daughter and left to go back to Mount Clemens, Michigan, where his family was from, instead. Police drove for hours to speak to him and other family members, but after that day were unable to speak with him because he obtained an attorney. The attorney stated that police were harassing his family, while police claimed he was being uncooperative. Mr. Krauseneck stated, "Quite frankly, I wish some other organization would get involved in the investigation, because Brighton just doesn't see this type of case very often." He did agree to allow his daughter to speak to a psychologist, but for unknown reasons that never happened. At that time, and for years after the murder, Kathleen's family stood by James and stated that the investigation was unfairly focused on him, but they seem to have changed their minds in recent years. Some articles state that friends and family described the couple as loving and extremely close, and said both parents doted on their daughter. Others state that her family believed the couple was having marital problems in the months preceding her murder. Mr. Krauseneck didn't speak about the case again publicly until 1985, and then only because police from Brighton told reporters in Michigan that they were confused by the lack of cooperation from him and his family. A Brighton detective stated, "They're all reluctant to offer information. It's like Kathleen was murdered, taken off the face of the earth, and no one wants to help." Brighton investigator Mark Liberatore stated, "He gave the appearance of wanting to be cooperative, but then he got a lawyer, and we never talked to him again for 34 years. Krauseneck ended up relocating to Washington State. We know he apparently had issues at his job with Eastman Kodak, because he claimed to have completed a doctorate that he had never actually completed. We know that his former employer, Lynchburg College in Virginia, was told the same thing. Before Virginia, the Krausenecks lived in Colorado. This quiet area was deeply affected by the murder, and there was a rush to hardware stores for deadbolts and other home security devices. According to Brighton Town Supervisor William Mull, new to the Evans Farm neighborhood in 1982, the murder had a devastating impact on the community. Former Police Chief Mark Henderson stated that when he joined the force in 1986, you could not go anywhere in town, to any coffee shop, and not hear about the case, with everyone stating opinions on who was responsible and people asking why no arrest was made. In later years, the address was known as the Axe Murder House. Some even believed it to be haunted, due to the murder and also to another curious fact I'll reveal later on. But the killer was never found, and the case went cold. Or so we thought. In 2015, then Brighton Police Chief Mark Henderson learned of an initiative from the FBI offering resources to help resolve cold cases. Case materials were digitized, and it is stated that police still have more than 100 pieces of evidence that can be tested for DNA and through other forensic measures. At this time, police are not stating what has been discovered to protect the case. 2 days after police interviewed Mr. Krauseneck in April of 2015, he and his wife listed their house for sale. At the time of his arrest, James Krauseneck was living in Arizona. The trial is set for June of 2020. I wonder if Mr. Krauseneck will regret wishing for an outside agency to be involved. We're told by former Police Chief Mark Henderson that the case has never been closed, and that police there and in other states have spent countless hours over the years trying to solve this murder. He stated that he worked with then Police Chief Eugene Shaw, and that Chief Shaw was also very determined to see this case resolved. Another curious thing, apparently this was not the first death in that house. Back in 1977, Anthony Schiaffino, the founder of Rochester Radio Supply Inc. and one-time owner of Avon Inn, and his wife Estelle died of carbon monoxide poisoning because supposedly the car was left running in their garage. The timeline is critical here and is apparently a key part of the indictment of Krauseneck, according to Police Chief David Cathaldi. At the time of the murder, according to an old New York Times article, Lieutenant Gary Prenti, who was in charge of the investigation for the Brighton Police Department, stated, "He was at work all day, to the best of our knowledge. He had a meeting in the morning and was there with several people." A Sergeant Edward Grodnick said of the daughter, she was not able to determine that it was her mother in bed. She thought it was someone else. Maybe she blocked it out. It's hard to talk to her. She's only 3.5. The victim was in her nightclothes, still in bed, and they assumed she was sleeping when attacked. If it can be proven that the murder took place when he was still at home, he's in serious trouble. Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Batten will testify in the trial, and it seems likely that he's discovered something critical about the time of death. Krauseneck told police he left around 6:30 a.m. The axe was wiped clean of prints, which you wouldn't expect had the person been wearing gloves. There would be no need. But if the person was not wearing gloves and left silver items and purse on the floor, apparently leaving in a hurry, it would be very surprising to find no prints on any of those. Silver especially would be good material on which to find fingerprints, but none were found. Police have stated that there is literally nothing to indicate anyone else was in the home. No DNA, no prints, nothing. In 1982, people weren't concerned about leaving DNA evidence. Would a burglar and killer who fled, leaving behind all the loot, pause to remove prints from everything? Would a man setting up a faked burglary fail to remove anything of value and leave a small child alone with a body? We don't know. Well, that's it for this one. Let me know what you think about the case in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video or didn't, I'd like to know that too. If you did, maybe hit the subscribe, and I'll see about adding more of this sort. So long for now, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about this case. LGE out.
Just because the years go by doesn't mean you can stop looking over your shoulder. We're coming. Thank you.